Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50. Today's topic, setting up investments for the grandkids.
Yeah, Dallas, it's a question that we get quite a bit in terms of, I've got some money that a couple of $1,000s that I want to put aside for the grandkids. I want that money to grow for them. We don't really know what it's going to be for, whether it's going to be for their schooling or if it's going to be a kickstart, into a home or something like that when they're adults. But what should we actually do? Like, how do we actually set that up? So I thought it would be an interesting one to have a look. There's plenty of different providers now. Far more than they used to. You used to get penalised significantly for not having much to invest. And what I mean by that is that the big investment fund providers charged you quite a bit more to set up a small account. And if you looked at it, some of those fees were, deducting 1% to 2% from the rate of return of the investment. So there's some alternatives now that are good. There's plenty of these out there. I've actually set one up for my children with Raiz, RAIZ. And
just to clarify too, before we get started, we want to break this into two parts. There is. This is for, like you just touched on, Michael, this is for people with a couple of $1,000s in a bank account. As a rule of thumb, I'd say less than $10,000 or even less than $20,000 or $30,000. What you're really looking at is something like we're going to discuss here, which is just a real easy, quick way to set up. We'll do a separate podcast, which is about if you've got more money set up, if we're looking at, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 to go to your grandkids. There's a couple of different types of structures that you can look at and a couple of different products potentially that you can look at. This is more, and this is the question that we get far more often, which, like you said,
a few
$1,000, want to get it set up for the grandkids. I think the other point I just wanted to touch on there before we get into the nuts and bolts of it is that I think this is a very valuable thing, and it's definitely worth doing, even though, because we're now talking about a few $1,000s, and it sort of sounds like, it's only a little bit of money, but the point of setting up this investment for your grandkids, I think, is more a learning experience for them than anything else. And that's like you just touched on there. Most people know that they want to do something for their grandkids. They don't necessarily know what the money's for, but to me, that's secondary. The point you're trying to achieve here is showing your grandkids that you can put a little bit of money aside, and over a long time, if you leave it alone and don't touch it, and you are able to even add a bit more to it, it can grow to a substantial amount. So, you've done this for your kids, Michael. You were saying.
I have. So one of the first points to note is that it has to be in your name while the children are still minors. What I use for my children, which is good. I mean, you're in control of it in that situation. It's your prerogative.
Sorry, that's the point I was making before. I didn't actually elaborate on that. That's why it makes sense to do it in this way if it's only a small amount. As those numbers get bigger, potentially there's tax implications of doing it, and there's other structures you can use. But when it's only a few $1,000s, it's easy to do in your own name. Yeah,
so it has to be in your name or an adult's name. I think the person that's setting this up, it goes in their name or their spouse's name. So if you're the grandparents, it'd be set up in one of your names. Now, I actually use Raiz, RAIZ, which is...
We should have tried to set up some like affiliate link where we get paid, get kickbacks from or something like this.
No, I'd rather it not be that. So we get no kickbacks from Raiz. There are other ones, but what I like about them is that it's just so easy in terms of use. And how it actually works is you can start with a very small initial investment. You can be invested within like minutes. 5 minutes. Basically from the setup. It's app-based on your phone. I think you can start with $10 or something like that. You can start with a very, very small amount. So they pool your money and other people's money together.
Yeah.
And because they're pooling your money in there, number one, the benefit is that there are low fees. So for standard portfolios, and they have portfolios which are different risk profiles. They have conservative, moderately conservative, moderately aggressive, and emerald. So you can choose. We can't tell you which one to go into. You have to choose that. I mean, if you listen to our other podcasts, you probably get a good idea. But effectively for those standard portfolios, while you're under a $10,000 balance, it's $2.50. It's $2.50 per month.
Yep. In
fees, and then it's when you're above $10,000 of balance, it's 0.275%. That is really, really low.
Yeah, for
cost
for
that balance.
Yeah, and it's
those portfolios naturally provide you with diversification, so you can't choose exactly which companies to invest into, but you can. It'll be spread.
Which again, if you listen to any of our other podcasts, you know that we wouldn't recommend that anyway. You just want that to be spread out. As you said before, we can't tell you which portfolio to be invested in, but if you're investing for your grandkids, they are going to want to be invested in the asset that grows over the long term.
One of the really good things, the really neat thing, is it has what they call roundup. So it does require to link bank accounts to this, to link your bank accounts. Look, I never look into I'm very trusting of things like that. So Raise is quite a large company. They've been around for a number of years now.
Yeah.
There's a third-party platform involved for security reasons. I don't understand the tech associated with that. When you log into that Raise app and set up a profile, though, if you're doing that, you would have to then link some of your bank accounts. There's what they call a funding account, which what that means is that anytime you push or take money out, so if you push money in or you pull money out, it'll go through that funding account. So it's one bank account. You then can set up a really neat thing which they call roundup. So you can link. It could be the same account as a roundup account. You can link more than one, and if any FPOS purchase occurs, so here's the example: I spend $9.43 on an e-transaction via FPOS or any other means from that account. If I've set a roundup to the nearest $10 or the nearest dollar in this case, what will happen is that 57 cents will be taken from my account and invested into the Raise investment. So what it does is it automatically rounds up every transaction that you make to the nearest dollar. If you set it to the nearest dollar, you can set it to the nearest $10 or $5 or whatever.
Yep.
And what it'll actually do is every time you're spending a little bit of money, it'll take round up to that next dollar.
Yep.
In this example, and invest that. So just to be clear, the $9.43 goes to the vendor that I've just bought the 2 lattes from, and the 57 cents goes into my roundup. Into my Raise account and is invested for me, and effectively that transaction cost me $10. So it's rounding me up.
I think this is one of the things that the Rays have done here, which is fantastic for this exact type of thing. Like we just said, if you're looking at this for your grandkids, what you're really trying to do, as well as potentially put some money aside for them, it's more around teaching them those lessons. And this is a really valuable lesson, I think, for a lot of people, is that for kids to see that consistent little tiny amounts going in can add up to a huge amount, because people are constantly blown away. Like I've talked to a lot of other people who have set these up for their kids, and they have this roundup thing set up. It's amazing how quickly that builds up. It's 57 cents here and 33 cents there, and you think of it, it is literally cents that we're talking about. But over a year or two, it builds up to be a huge amount. And so if you're able to stick to this consistently over the next 10, 20 years, you can imagine that when you can show that to your grandkids and say, well, look, all we did was we put a couple of $1,000s in at the start, and then it was just, it's like the equivalent of your change jar in your house. If you get home and have a coin jar that every time you've got coins, you throw them in the jar, and then at the end of the year, you go and cash it in. It's the same thing where you don't realise how much that builds up to over time. But it's a pretty good it's definitely a good one, I think, for those lessons for kids.
So I love the roundups functionality. I love the ease at which I can push and pull money in. Now I haven't actually pulled any money out.
Yeah.
I've only pushed it in, but like I can remember back birthdays where Richie had been given $20 and Margaret had been given $20 for their birthday. What I did, I actually pocketed that money.
I'll let you finish.
And like on the spot when we opened their birthday card, I actually pulled out my phone, got into my Raise account, pocketed the $20, and pushed $20 from my account into their investment. So previously, that was a really, really hard thing to do with a standard type of investment. So it's made it really, really easy to push smaller amounts in as well. And like, not that I haven't actually taken any money out, but I understand that you can take money out with the same amount of ease. So in the future, what I'm thinking in terms of our children is that we'll meet them 50-50 on something they want to do. Okay, we want to go on this school ski trip or something like that.
Yep.
Okay, well, if it's going to cost $1,000. Okay, well, if you put $500 towards it, if you go and work and do a part-time job and put $500, we'll match that with $500. Now, I won't tell them we're actually taking it out of their own account, but they don't even know this account exists for them. No, we don't know how we're going to treat that.
Yeah, in the future.
We probably will share that with them at a young age, but that's the thoughts. So transactional wise, it's really, really easy, flexible to take money out, money in.
And I think that's a good point too. And I know that we've talked about this before. You really like this because then when people say to you, "What do your kids want for a present?" you can just go, don't buy them another plastic piece of crap that's going to sit around the house and I'm going to step on in the middle of the night.
No.
You know, they've got a little investment that you can put $20 into. Somebody's can put $20 into that account.
Yeah, which is great. That's what I've been telling people. It's fantastic because it's just less stuff that I have to clean up.
And I think most people, everyone wants the same thing. You want to be able to show these kids things building up over time and the value of doing that and sticking to a sort of a savings plan. So, I think so. This whole podcast is just a plug for this Raise app.
For Raise, I think they've done a really good job.
Yeah,
and I mean, I've been using them for a number of years. The way they report things are good.
Yeah.
The ease of use is the main thing.
Yeah.
So, the diversification of being in one of those portfolios, they're spreading your money across a vast number of companies. And that's up until recent times, it's been really, really costly to do that with little kids' investments because the bigger investment companies have actually charged you quite a bit more for having a smaller account.
Yep.
So, if you'd like to check it out, RAIZ, it's app based. Jump on the website, have a look.
This is one of those things now. We also, like we say, there's nothing magic about this product. This is more like a user review type thing than anything else.
Please don't email us. We love listeners emailing us. Please do not email us and ask what investment strategy to go in, or is the account secure? Is you're just going to have to do that with Raise because I'm very trusting of technology. I'm very I assume all of those types of things.
Yes,
I assume if there's any stolen bank accounts and people steal money out of my account, I assume that Raise will pay that money back.
Yeah,
that's an assumption.
Yeah,
you know what they say about assumptions.
The other thing I think is there is other types of investments like this. It's not, the concept is fantastic. I think it's a great thing to teach kids those lessons from the start. Again, please don't email me and say, what about this other one that's a competitor Raise? I don't get use whichever one.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
What we can tell you is that we have used this to use ourselves and to help other people set up for their grandkids. Yep. And it's very easy to use, very user friendly. Yep. So, like we said, please don't email me, ask me how the app works because that's the tech support for Raise.
And with respect to the portfolios that you can go into, we just cannot. I'm just sorry, we cannot provide you with that advice because the way the legal system is, the way the legalities of our industry work, that is personal financial advice.
Yep.
And we just cannot give it over that format. Again, you could probably take a wild guess at what we would invest into based on what we have
everything we've said in the last 100 hours of podcasting. I don't think there's anything I've got to add there. Like I said, we'll be doing a separate podcast in future around if we're looking at bigger sums of money to invest for grandkids, that sort of thing, and different structures that are available there. So, but for the small ones, a part of the theory behind setting this up as well is that if any of our clients in future say to us, hey, we want to set up an investment for the grandkids, I can just send them a link to this podcast and say, here you go, here's Michael plugging Raise. So away you go.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.